So I have the pleasure not only to guide you through today's program, but also to moderate the next panel, which is cluster-driven international collaboration in the framework of the priorities of Lithuania. We've been talking during the morning how important it is to build new collaborations, especially in these challenging times. And today, as well as tomorrow, is a real opportunity to collaborate, to communicate, and to find new ways of cooperation, which will definitely give us the chance to make new businesses, which will help us to go through the current situation. So I would like to give the floor now to, on the virtual stage of Slavomir Tokarski, who is the Director, European Territorial Cooperation, Macro-Region Interreg and Program Implementation at DG Regio.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
So good afternoon, everybody, and let me start with apologies. Indeed, it will be very good to be live with you on the stage and to talk to you in person, but quite unfortunately, the pilots, well, the strike delayed my return from Easter break, and that is why I cannot be with you today. But thank you very much for this invitation, and let me use this occasion to share with you some thoughts. And I would like maybe to start with a more general considerations regarding the links between cohesion policy and clusters and make those considerations a little bit against the backdrop of the current economic situation. And I think it will dovetail well with Anders' presentation, which is very much focused on concrete examples. So starting from the economic situation, I think we may say, and we all see that with a degree of certainty, what expects us in the near future is more abrupt changes, is more asymmetric shocks and disruptions. And we will have to learn to live with those. Today, we see the repercussions of Russian aggression against Ukraine or the impact of the pandemics, but there will be more to come. Conflicts seem to become more and more frequent following political polarization, weather conditions brought by climate change, natural disasters. So there will be something that will make the part of our daily reality. Just very recently, we see what happens with the Shanghai lockdown and how does it impact on world economy and on the supply chains. So the question is, what does it mean for the economic development in Europe? And I think that it means that we shall pursue the path of a model based on high resilience, which means flexible cooperation networks based on the variety of business models, on different sizes of companies, and on the area of skills and competences. And I think this is something which distinguishes us and which gives us an opportunity to compete quite successfully against Chinese model, which is based still on the state capitalism, or American model based on large corporation with a huge financial power that we cannot match. So as biodiversity is very, very en vogue these days, I will make this comparison that was used by one of the economists who says that this model, those flexible networks, clusters based on different business skills, on different business models and sizes, is similar to a resilient forest, which associates different trees and species, and it stands against a hurricane much better than a single tree or a wood based on one species only. And I think we have seen already in the past that clusters were able to quickly find solutions to disruption in value chains following the outbreak of the pandemics. We had European Cluster Alliance, some of which may be aware of this, which pooled different skills and competences, in particular regarding 3D printers and spotting also new materials, which made it possible to catch up and to produce individual protective equipment very quickly, in this way, addressing the disruptions that were caused by disrupted supply chains from China. And also the same approach, I think GROW colleagues can tell you more about it, is used right now by European clusters for helping to Ukraine and helping to bring their enterprises into new supply chains that were disrupted by the aggression. And I think the reason for all of this is that clusters are able to quickly pick new market solutions. And this is all based on the flexibility and this wide range of skills, technologies, and competencies they have to their disposal. And they can also spot very quickly those weak signals coming from the market and preceding major disruptions. So all this contributes to their resilience and the agility. At the same time, achieving this agility and flexibility might be much more difficult for large enterprises acting on their own or basing their activity on established business models, which rely on large quantities of inputs or imported materials. So what does it all mean for cohesion policy? I mean, clearly on one hand, the goals of the policy and the advantages of the cohesion policy are based on strategic and long-term approach. We need such an approach for green and digital transition if you want to achieve results and put our economies on a new track. On the other hand, however, we need to support this policy with economic cooperation running across national and regional borders. And clearly, the greater the variety of competencies, technologies, and skills involved, the greater the resilience of the policy itself, and the greater capacity of this policy to support long-term growth jobs through the implementation of EU key strategies. And this, I believe, takes me to macro-regional strategies. The cooperation logic across the territories sharing similar characteristics and challenges was certainly a key idea behind their creation. And I think this is certainly true for Baltic Sea strategy, which is underpinned by this large array of competencies and comparative advantages across its territory. So in many ways, the US BSR is providing in itself a cluster approach for regional cooperation around the Baltic Sea. And this holds true in particular in the area of innovation, which is one of key themes for the strategy. So from the regional development point of view, transnational clusters have one more advantage. They can help to redress the uneven levels of innovation performance across the more and less developed regions. In addition, they also allow for co-creation, one of the key themes of the policy area innovation for 21-27 period. And just to give you a couple of examples here, and flagships, we have projects such as BSR Star 3, Submariner Network, Isconvald, Baltic Science Links, etc., which are largely funded now by Interreg programs and which have produced excellent results and new solutions in the areas of research collaboration, health, blue growth, or bio and circular economy. And I would like to mention here especially two examples of very well established and dynamic transnational and macro-regional cluster collaboration supported by the Baltic Sea strategy. In the area of blue growth and economy, I mean the Submariner Network, which is a unique and active platform bringing together all the actors around the whole Baltic Sea regions in order to promote innovative and sustainable use of marine resources. In the area of health, we have the Isconvald Health Region, which promotes cross-sectoral and transnational projects for innovation and health in life sciences. So in a way, it acts as an umbrella for a multitude of coordinated activities which apply to shared visions and values and utilize a common communication and coordination structure. Let me conclude by referring to the notion of embedding of the territorial cooperation, which applies to macro-regional strategies. As you know, macro-regional strategies come without dedicated funding. At the same time, in order to give more weight to cooperation, for the first time for 21-27 period, we require all mainstream programs, and that's a big difference for the first time, to engage in funding cooperation with other EU regions. And we have already good examples of such an approach, for example, around the new program for Brandenburg region. And this embedding comes together with the reflection that smart specialization strategies need to be better connected and more outward looking than was the case until now. So I believe that this approach opens new possibilities for funding USPSR. The key themes of regional smart specialization strategies in the Baltic area, in the field of blue growth, circular economy, industrial symbiosis, or low carbon energy provide new opportunities for cooperation. I think also, and this is the last point, that the involvement of the business through clusters is very important because it allows to concretize strategy, goals which are often set up by politicians and established at the political level. And in this way, it is up to the business to tell us what are exactly the business opportunities, what are the chances for a more long-term economic development, and where are the best possibilities for creating growth and jobs. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tokarski, for addressing this for addressing the importance of collaboration, as well as setting up the scene for this panel discussion. I'm sure that later on during the actual discussion there will be more examples and questions coming, so we can even demonstrate further the importance of collaboration. So for the first part of this panel, we'll have one more intervention from our virtual stage, and after that we will go for the discussion. So I would like now to present and to welcome Mr. Anders Bergström, the Policy Area Coordinator, EU Strategy for the Baltic Sea region.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for the opportunity to meet with you now, at least virtually. I very much look forward to also meet you in person again in your beautiful city of Vilnius. I will concentrate my presentation on give something more on the Macro-regional strategies. What are they? How can we understand them? I will also say something about how can you as cluster organization use the macro-regional strategies, what's in it for you. And then I will give two concrete examples. So yes, I'm a policy area coordinator, but I'm one of 30 and some 30 approximately. And I'm policy area coordinator for an area called Education, Science and Social Affairs in the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region. And I have been working with this since actually the launch of the strategy back in 2009. I was appointed as policy area coordinator in 2013. So how can we then understand these macro-regional strategies? And we have got some first introduction by Slavomir. Well, they are strategic frameworks and they are addressing complex societal challenges that we can't solve on our own in our regions or in our countries. We actually need to collaborate, and those challenges are growing in numbers. And Slavomir mentioned some of them, and these are in the sense listed in an action plan that is guiding the implementation of the strategies. But these societal challenges and these actions you will find in Lithuania, you will find them in all the countries in Europe. So it's nothing that is separated from the challenges that you are working with on a daily basis. What is characteristic with the macro-regional strategies is also that they are working cross-sectorial, multi-level and transnational, that we are joining forces to address these challenges. And in that sense, it's also a little bit similar to innovation clusters, where you also are bringing different perspectives into your organizations in order to be able to work on development of solutions. And also what is important here is that we build long-term infrastructure for collaboration, and they are based on this mission-oriented approach, this that Slavomir referred to as co-creation, because this is a model of how we can work together with different stakeholders, with different perspectives in joint processes. We need to have a methodology for this, and this co-creation is a very important tool to be able to deliver on these set indicators that we have in our action plans. And sometimes we refer to these as flagships, sometimes we refer to them as policy action processes. It's always important to understand that they are not just projects, but they are actually processes more long-term, where we gather stakeholders to work together. And today we have 4 such macro-regional strategies in Europe, we are working also closely together. So we are not just working within our own geographies, we are working across the macro-regional strategies, and that is also something that has developed further the last couple of years, I must say. So this was a little bit about what are macro-regional strategies, but then it's more important, what can we do for you? What can we do for clusters? And here I want to say that as they are this kind of missions or policy processes, clusters are most important to be involved in this, and you are much welcome to be involved in this. And in particular, also what Slavomir referred to, that this is a way for business to be integrated in these processes. It can be difficult for a single company, but through a cluster, companies can be involved in these policy processes. These strategies can also support the cluster internationalization. It's a very important part of working with clusters, also to have an internationalization strategy for the cluster. This is something that is more and more clusters are also taking in to work transnationally or internationally. And here we can offer this kind of strategic framework. We can also, and now we are also a little bit into what Slavomir referred to, this embedding. We can also work to help with facilitate the funding with help of synchronized calls in these so-called mainstream programs. The most relevant one for you is the ERDF, but certainly there are also others like the ESF Plus that could be relevant if we speak about social innovations. And here is an example I will soon come to, where we actually are working with this, particularly targeting innovation clusters. So this is a little bit the support that we can offer from the strategies. I will now give you two examples here, and I start with something that actually originate from Lithuania. It was an idea that was growing from a workshop that we had in Vilnius. I think it was in 2017. And this is that maybe it would be a good idea to have a common education for cluster managers, because it doesn't matter if you are a cluster manager in a food cluster or if you are working in Lithuania or in Sweden. Basically, to be a cluster manager is something that is very much similar to where different thematics you work with or different geographies you work in. So that's why we developed this cluster manager education that is now to be finalized. It has been done, this development within Erasmus+, and we have delivered this education because of the pandemic online. And one of the educational providers is Kaunas University of Technology. And then the other ones are in Finland, in Sweden, and in Germany. And here you can see that there have been then 4 modules that we have developed. We started actually to develop the competence profile for a cluster manager. And based on this competence profile that we developed by making interviews with cluster managers in the region, with help of the Stockholm School of Economics and the Copenhagen Business School, we came up to this kind of how to say, understanding of this profession and defining this profession. And based on that, we developed the curricula, and then we landed in these 4 modules, one on this collaboration leadership, one in strategic management, international business environment, digitalization in business, and then scouting for innovation. And in total, I think we have had now 25 participants in this education, actually from all 8 countries, all 8 EU members in the Baltic Sea region. And now we are discussing how we will continue, and it will be continued, and those educational providers, they will continue to deliver this education, but it will then be how to say, you have to pay for it. But it's a very interesting example. And also speaking about this education, it has also delivered a spin-off, because now we are building a cluster network in the Baltic Sea region. So If you're interested, you can contact me afterwards and I can say more, tell you more about this, but it's an idea is to have a joint network in the Baltic Sea region for innovation clusters to promote business integration in the region, certainly, but also then the internationalization among the innovation clusters. So I have another example, and that is something that was also tested last year, Innovation Express, synchronized calls. This is something that is based on success that also Slavomir mentioned, actually BSR STARS, that was one of the flagships between 2013 and 2017. And one of the components in this flagship was to have synchronized calls and organized yearly, actually synchronized calls to offer the possibility for cluster organization, but also research institutions to work together on a common challenge. And we thought this was a very good example of how to work with this embedding in practice, how to work with promoting collaboration between the programs in practice. So as also, I have to say, a need after the pandemic to restart again in Europe, we took this as one test bed. And together across three macro-regional strategies, we decided that we develop this program, we bring it up again from 2017, and we deliver it in 2021. And it was a collaboration where the land Baden-Württemberg, together with us in the Baltic Sea strategy, together with also colleagues in the Alpine strategy, developed this program. And we organized a synchronized call, we organized matchmaking, and we also had some capacity building for those that participated in this. And we had this pilot, as you see, with them 4 regions: Land Fribourg in Switzerland, Baden-Württemberg, Brandenburg in Germany, and Salzburg in Austria. We actually also were planning to have Lithuania on board. Lithuania was part of the preparatory work, but in the end, they decided not to participate. We are now discussing how we can continue with this. So keep eyes open. There will be new calls in Innovation Express, and we hope to do it also within the Baltic Sea region in the end of this year. So this was some slides that I prepared for today, and I'm also looking forward to the discussions afterwards. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much for this overview. I mean, one of the aims later on is really to go deeper into the open opportunities for collaboration for the Baltic Sea region. So I'm sure that we will further discuss that. So I would like now for the second part to invite on the stage for the discussion the other panelists that are here in the room with us. So again, I would like to welcome Giedrius on the stage. Please join me, as well as Suzanne Jorgensen and Skirmante Balzintiene. Please. So we will start with some brief presentation from Giedrius, if you don't mind. I mean, ladies will introduce because you are also our hosts and you've been already on the stage. So I'll give the floor to the ladies in this panel and for a quick overview, and then we will continue with the discussions on Suzanne. The floor is yours. Oh.
Thank you very much. First of all, it is so great to meet new cluster friends, but also old cluster friends. It's been a long time, and clusters are all about personal networks. So today already I've made 3 not concrete appointments, but almost, even to Sweden, that is only 30 minutes away from me. So yes, we will turn to a more practical mode. I'm a very much hands-on working in the cluster for food and bio cluster Denmark. So we are one of the 14 national clusters. And wait now, we're not only a cluster, we are a super cluster. And this is a new term that they include the fifth leg with investment and startup hubs. We are partly funded by the Agency of Science, Higher Education, and also the Danish Board of Business Development. And this is this new strategy since 1 year ago, we started this new super cluster. So in a minute we can fly, at least we hope so. Okay, so who are we? I'm going to tell you a little bit about the cluster and then very practical, what do we do to engage in international cluster collaboration, but also benefit our members, of course. We turn great ideas into green business and drive innovation across the entire food industry value chain. Our vision is to be a global, competitive, and recognized as a world leader, that is a big word, you know, the supercluster, within innovation and sustainable development of the entire value chain. With the vision comes 3 landmarks. We would like to be providing sustainable, healthy, and safe food to a growing world population. We'd like to take full advantage of the technology opportunities such as digitalization, biotech, and automation. And lastly, but not least, to ensure a sustainable green transition of the clusters towards climate neutrality. These are more important than ever with the global and the situation we are all in at the moment. Just to give you an overview of who, again, we have about 350 members, which is quite nice. We are a merger of 4 major Danish food clusters. So already now we have a substantial membership fee. We all have the same agenda. There are small and medium-sized companies, there are startups, there are big companies, global companies, the universities, technology and knowledge institution, and of course the municipalities and some of the NGOs. So in the last 10 years, the Danish national cluster have been obliged to have an international strategy. So thus we have a long-standing experience in international cluster cooperation, and that means that the internationalization cooperation is actually embedded in all we do in the overall strategies of the clusters. So today we face many challenges with the disruption of the value and supply chain, the climate change, the COVID-19 situation, and also the geopolitical tension, and not least the war in Ukraine. So we cannot solve those issues by ourselves. So to boost sustainable growth and resilience building, cross-border collaboration is an essential instrument to clusters to support the members. First, sustainability, digitalization, green transition, resilience are the key words for the coming years. So we have to stand together, we have to collaborate, because I know it's a cliche here, but we are stronger and faster together. You could see under the COVID-19, when it was at the highest, a vaccine was developed almost within a year, and we saw a lot of creativity, of course also a lot of difficulties, but not the least the creativity, and I hope to see this in the current situation. So how do we do it? Probably like all of you, we have an extensive network of cluster contact. We made them through the European Cluster Collaboration Platform, going way back when we were participating in cluster missions to Japan, meeting European clusters, being listed on the platform, collaborating on the Hanover Messe, and I could go on and go on in general in Denmark for that, but also Enterprise Europe Network. I'm the former chair, because the group doesn't exist anymore, but I'm the former chair of the thematic group for clusters in Enterprise Europe Network, and we work with clusters and the network for more than 10 years. So we have a great network and contact. And that means it takes time. 10 years is a long time, but that also shows that when we go and apply for EU projects, we can not easily, but we can find potential and relevant project partners. I can mention a few when we go to the next slide. We organize Global Insight, which is sort of seminars, nowadays webinars, on topical that are of interest, of course, to the international, to their members. We both organize and participate in conferences and trade fairs that have an innovative issue, like tomorrow the Anuga Food Tech is taking place. Actually, it starts today, but tomorrow the Sustainable Food Tech Solution, we are bringing 11 companies. So we try to combine both the clusters, but also benefiting our members. Innovation tours is also most like the incoming and outgoing cluster missions. So I'm already in the break talking to my dear friend Gittis to some of the clusters to come to Denmark, and we can have an exchange of practicing on how to organize the clusters. Yes, just to give you our project portfolio, we are very much a project-oriented cluster. We have 40 international and national, sorry, I forgot that, and the portfolio only from last year gone up by 11%. So even though we have had a lot of difficulties in this trying times, our project portfolio has gone up, also due to all the good initiatives from the commissions. The project turnover is not in euros, it's in Danish kroner, but about 1.58 billion euros. We are very keen on Horizon Europe programs. I just heard the Innovation Expressway is coming back. That is a great program, so be sure to listen and keep your eye open. But also the bio-based industry, circular economy programs are very much in favor, because 100% financed, and this is a strategic choice we made recently. This is just to show you some of the many projects that we are involved in. I can just mention three. One, Empower Bio, which is a bio-based project that includes clusters from Lithuania, from Latvia, from Sweden, from Norway, and it's all about empowering clusters to help their SMEs or startups to capture capital. Another very relevant is agrobioheat, how you can bring value to agrobiomass. And these days, with the high energy crisis and the prices, this is very much a popular project. And in 2 weeks' time, we'll organize a matchmaking, and already over 100 have registered for this. Global Future is also a cluster project where we have gathered some mostly European clusters to educate them by masterclasses, by international training programs, and by matchmaking, and then company missions all going to Asia. 4 countries in Asia: Korea, South Korea, of course, Singapore, Thailand, and Japan. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And you mentioned something, Suzanne, that I was, before starting the session, I was kind of trying to think for something to warm up the audience after the lunch break. And you said exactly what was in my head, that you used the time so far to make the connection. So I just really was thinking to ask, how many so far from the room you've made a connection and you met with someone that you haven't met before? So if we can simply just see. So, I mean, I'm really glad to see that, because this means that we are using exactly the time being together and to exchange and collaborate, because opening for new cooperations means that we know who is in the room. We are active for look for new connections, that tomorrow these connections will turn to partnerships. Earlier in the morning session, it was said that there are so many initiatives open and programs, and we just simply need to look. I mean, if we open the European Cluster Collaboration Platform and all the other initiatives and the events going on and the missions, I mean, we will simply find so many openings. I mean, we will open for new partnerships. So it's the important is also to be active on the day. There is tomorrow a matchmaking session, but really to use every single chance to know who is in the room. So after the session, please, if you see someone that you don't know already in the room, we are having a networking coffee break after that. So please make sure that you knew everyone in the room. So thank you for that. And now I would like to present you, Skirmante, you coming from the photovoltaics technology cluster. If we can have an overview of your work, your success stories, and after that we will go deeper to discuss together with Giedrius the things. Thank you.
Thank you. So first of all, nice to be here. There were some technical issues and I have my presentation is lost. So I will speak from top of my head. I will try to stress out all the topics I was prepared to deliver. So okay, so Lithuanian photovoltaic cluster is innovation-driven cluster and uses this approach since the beginning in 2008. As you all know, the photovoltaics is mainly run by China as a mainstream. They have a huge potential and huge capacity of manufacturing photovoltaic panels. So in order to be competitive and to be visible and to be accepted, we stressed out that the only way is innovation. And through innovation and niche markets, we try to find ways and impact areas, impact topics that we work on, and in order to succeed. So on a larger scale, I would like to also note that having such a huge competition from China, especially in manufacturing for photovoltaics, but I think I could speak in all the sectors in general, Europe as a region, as one unity, should be working towards bringing back manufacturing at a large scale back to Europe. So at all value chains, at all points of value chains, because now what Lithuania faces today, we have a huge, impact on from photovoltaic point of view. We have a huge impact on component supply chain restrictions, disruption, and it's quite an issue. We tackled it quite successfully, but the issue continues and we should work towards that. I mean, all of us. So I'm happy that here we have a lot of policymakers. So please take notes. Please bring manufacturing from lowest parts of value chain to the highest value chain members back to Europe. Okay, so this is why innovation is important. I mean, to be competitive and to be successful, right? So, and how we are doing this, we have a few working areas that we are I would say that we perfected. So we have a very strong cluster coordinator that is like a mediator between technology providers. We have 4 universities in the cluster and other research entities. So the cluster coordinator mediates and takes the technology, develops it to the higher TRLs, and then to implement brings to implementation level for manufacturers. We cover all the manufacturers of Lithuanian photovoltaic here in clusters, so and they are very happy about it that we do timely and constant innovation flow for them. So that's the one point towards success. The other thing is we cover full value chain from raw material providers here in Lithuania to manufacturers to policy influencers, I would say. And we do innovation in every step of value chain that brings best results regarding the end product and end user. So the second point. The third point, and I think it's one of the crucial points, is funding. So we do fund our practically all our R&D activities through public schemes from EU projects. Currently, we have 11 ongoing international projects in Horizon, Interreg, and so on. The biggest one, I think, is 10+ million euros. It covers demonstration sites all across Europe and abroad. We do have technology development in that project and so on. So it's quite an interesting one. I can tell you more about in B2B sessions or after the session, the panel session, if you'd like. Okay, and so to try to summarize a bit, our main and daily activities is support manufacturers with constant flow of innovation. It's the first one. We have open scale laboratories at clusters facilities. We do have a scheme for searching, inviting and preparing and implementing the EU projects. That is quite successful actually. Also, what are we working on is supporting policymakers on national and international level on providing better legislation and to meeting the Green Deal goals and other topics. We are very active in the working groups and try to make the best environment for our manufacturers and the sector itself, and not only for our sector. I mean, for all the sectors in the Europe that works in renewables. So, while speaking from our side, we speak from their side as well. So. Another note for policy makers here in the room, we do have some issues that I would like to stress out a bit on standardization, certification process. I think you all know that, and well, we can speak about that in more detail a bit later. I think the last point of our daily activities could be the supporting national legislation makers and legislation issues, and educating communities, prosumers, the ones who use our technologies and use our products on a daily life. So I could share some good news that came to me like a few days ago, that Lithuania agreed to make a package called Challenge, and the package says that till 2013 Lithuania will be renewable driven energy by 70%. That's a huge impact. I mean, that's a huge goal and a bit bold, I guess, but we will be working together with the government to reach this goal. And to sum up all that was said, so what we do is to tackle mainstream competitors with innovation-driven approach. That's the first thing, and we find niche markets. We are active on building integrated PV, agrivoltaics PV. We do floating PV and vehicle PV and hybrid PV, all that covers all renewables in one place. So these are the main points we work on, and I really hope that I stressed out that we are good at EU projects, and I welcome all sorts of collaboration and cooperation activities, so feel free to meet me afterwards. And thank you, let's power up the world together.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this. It is really good to hear the different cases and approaches, because at the end of the day it is, as I said it earlier, we are here to exchange ideas and experience, evaluate the success, and even not only the success, it's good to evaluate if there is difficulties, gaps, so basically to build and step on that for the future. So Giedrius, back to you. I mean, thank you once again for being inviting us here and being such a great host. So thank you for creating this platform and opportunity for us to meet and really exchange ideas. So from your end, some guidelines, some good experience, some case studies you can give us in your process, your way of building partnerships and collaborations.
Thank you, Theodora. Really, I forgot to represent Smart Food Cluster here, because I was involved in all organizational issues, and now I understand that I need to come back to my direct organization where I work, and I represent Lithuanian Food Exporters Association, Smart Food Cluster. We are active cluster in Lithuania and abroad. Our main activities are similar to your cluster, which you explained, and in Lithuania we cooperate a lot with our colleagues and friends, agri-food cluster. We cover together agri and food. I mean, our partners, our members mainly are food processing companies. Together with partners, we have about 100 members from different subsectors. We work with other Lithuanian clusters, Logea cluster, Evita cluster from Lithuania, also Lithuanian packaging cluster. Main activities in Lithuania, we work a lot with export promotion, and we organize B2B matchmakings with foreign partners, importers. We organize participation in foreign exhibitions. It's our main activity, and we started 12 years ago from these activities. After 3 years, in 2015, we started to work as cluster, and the main focus was for international activities. We started to work with our colleagues from Latvia, from Armands, Latvian food cluster, and now we have quite big experience in COSME projects. We implemented COSME Smart Specialization projects, COSME Go International projects, together with colleagues from Austria, from Catalonia, and now we're implementing one project with Cluster Excellence project, COSME Cluster Excellence project. And we are close to Scandinavia, and we have quite good contacts and projects with our colleagues from Scandinavia region, and one of the projects was introduced by Anders. We implementing cluster managers education program together with Merinova from Finland. I'm happy to see them here, and together with Netport from Sweden and Wildau in Germany. And we are quite active cluster, and now we try to work more with Horizon 2020 projects, and my colleagues will meet tomorrow, you in Anugatech, package cluster will participate in Germany, and it's it's our part to be active in international projects, and now we work more than 70% our activities are with foreign partners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It's good to hear really success of the operation so far and building such a good partnerships. So I would like now to go back to our virtual stage and as we said, it's good to hear the success stories, but also good to know what are, for example, the barriers. So we to try to find a way to work on that. Mr. Tokarski, if you allow me to ask, what you consider for the main barriers to territorial cooperation for the region?
Well, if I look at this from the perspective of cohesion policy, I think there are two main barriers. Firstly, there is a mentality barrier. I think there is this conviction that cohesion policy is for the regions and make most of the sense to spend the money inside the region, while cooperation should be addressed only under European territorial cooperation objective. And I think it is wrong in a sense that, yes, indeed, there are plenty of great projects that we're doing in the cross-border programs, and I could enumerate them for long, and they're really inspiring and I think particularly appealing to people now in these times of very divisive politics. But there is no reason why mainstream programs should not dedicate a part of the funding for the project involving other regions in their own countries or beyond. And I think we heard all good reasons why this should be done. And secondly, there is a real barrier in a sense that cooperation comes at a cost. The more partners, the more effort you need to make. If you want to do something, like mentioned by Anders, that the synchronizing of calls for proposals, that already requires quite a lot of effort. And at the same time, normally region also needs to consult their own national government and see with their own stakeholders. So there is something real in saying that if I want to do territorial cooperation in the mainstream programs, that requires more work than a typical programs run inside the region. But I think that we heard very good reasons for saying that this cost is more than counterbalanced by the gains coming from territorial cooperation. And I'm quite optimistic in the sense that it required some convincing for the region, but we see more and more approaches where people really start to look a little bit beyond their own borders and start to think, you know, I have this type of competences and I have a partner region somewhere else which has different types of competence which are complementary to what I have. So it is in this way that we can address the whole value chain or be innovative across the whole value chain, and not only at its one particular point, as we heard from the colleagues from Denmark. So, well, this is what I wanted to say.
Thank you very much. And the same question for you. What do you think from if we've heard what Mr. Tokarski said, but do you agree with that, or what you see the main barriers for territorial cooperation? I mean, you gave the good examples, but also if we can hear what you found so far as barriers.
Yes, thank you for the question. Well, or was it me to start, or was it?
We would be glad to hear you. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so yes, I agree with Slavomir certainly, and I think that when it comes to the barriers, one is the funding, as we know, that it's when we speak about the mainstream programs, it's a little bit more complicated to launch these calls. It calls actually then for capacity building among those managing authorities, but also capacity building for those that are going to use these funds for transnational cooperation. The new programs allow for much more of collaboration, actually encourage collaboration. So we will learning by doing. But to set up calls like the Innovation Express, I think we will need some help for that, help from certainly managing authorities, continuous help from the Commission, and certainly also from you working in the regions to ask for this, to ask for more of these collaboration, because certainly you are the main stakeholder. You should talk to your managing authorities and say, we want to collaborate and we know that you can help us. I think another thing to bring up here is the sustainability for collaboration. We know that in the world of projects, they are usually 3 years. And I think for the future, we will see need of more long-term investments in collaboration. Collaboration takes time, and those of you that have worked internationally, you know that after the 3 years project, this is when you really can start delivering and you want to continue working, and then the money is over. I don't think we can do much this program period, but I hope for the next, where we might see more of these kind of possibilities to finance the infrastructure for long-term collaboration. Certainly, we all need to invest in it. It's nothing that we can ask from the programs, but maybe there should be more opening for this kind of longer investments than 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you, and you gave a really good food for thought for a future panel, sustainability of collaboration. This is great to be further discussed and see what we can do in that direction. So not one collaboration, not just to stay for one project, but really to continue further and to be expanded.
In our case, I mean, in our experience, the projects go one by one, one after one, and it's like you have the very low technology and you develop it through projects, right? And the partners you join in the beginning goes through all those stages and all those projects all together with you. So this is our experience, and to address the later speaker, the problem of finding and choosing the right partner is a bit of an issue. I mean, not all partners you have to choose very carefully. I mean, because it is a joint event and joint thing to prepare a very good proposal and to later on to prepare and finish a very good project. So access to wider possibility to choose, or maybe a pre-preparation of a project would be beneficial, well, from at least our point of view. Thank you.
Thank you. I can add that, you know, it's all about, not all, but financing, the rate of financing, because many of the clusters have smaller secretariat, not a huge machine. So they, as you said, need to find the right partner, and once you found the right partner, you have to nourish it. Maybe go on to work on other EU projects or the national projects that can invite international partners. I really like, I will repeat myself again, the Innovation Express in the old days where it was in Scandinavia. At that time I worked for the Danish support organization, cluster support organization, and it was a huge success because it was sort of a soft pilot funding, so to speak, where you had Innovation Express, where you got funding to see if you can cooperate with this cluster. So they had a smaller project, very easy to submit the application, and then you could go on to larger cluster EU projects. And I think this is one of the base of our cluster, that we build it up slowly. I think it's been mentioned also that maybe it's a soft value, but building trust among each other, not only in Denmark, but also the Swedes and Norwegians and also the Baltic regions. Even though we are close and neighbors and so on, you still need to build trust. So it can be a bit of a barrier that it takes time. And Innovation Express, go for it. Please come to Scandinavia soon. Or at least the Baltic region, sorry. And maybe sometimes also the culture could be we have different ways. The hierarchy in the Scandinavian countries is sort of a flat one, whereas, sorry to say, in my impression, sometimes in the Baltic it's more a hierarchy. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but you need to learn how to work together because of also the international culture differences. So money and people could be a bit of, but also an opportunity.
Giedrius, what do you think? What is the main difficulties?
I remember when we started to work with international cluster projects, and we were new cluster in international arena. It was very difficult to sell our experience, and maybe not experience but motivation. We were motivated but not experienced. And of course, first what I understood, what all clusters works as a group of friends, and we trust each other. And this trust and first consortium, it was main challenge when we started to work. Now we have quite big choice and maybe big number of friends and colleagues. Now we are in opposite situation, and we think and we are quite we prefer to work with partners who we know, and of course new partner you don't know experience, responsibility level, and it is challenge. And of course why it's one thing is to drink coffee in conference, and another to work and to achieve results. And trust and how to say, reputation is this two things. And talking about programs, I can confirm what Innovation Express was very good program. We need to have some programs, financial programs, to offer for our international partnerships, because when we go to meeting, for example, to Sweden or Denmark, okay, we can introduce our members, we can connect them. Okay, we will send for each other commercial proposals, and our role is it's all. But we can propose something more. If we have some programs, financial programs, we can continue with these results, with these networks. And small projects, Innovation Express project or Swedish Institute projects for cooperation are very useful and helps to continue with international programs. And main barrier are different programs, different level and different priorities in countries. It's very difficult to combine them and to find common programs. For example, with Latvia we work a lot, but we don't have a program where we can organize something between Lithuanian and Latvian companies. We work a lot, but nothing to propose. We can just connect them and say, yes, it's very interesting company in Latvia, in Lithuania. If you want, we can introduce you, and it's all. And these programs are very important.
I would add, I mean, we have Norway grants as an example, I mean, as a program. So it's a good program, a bit different, not for exact collaboration, but to exchange experience and maybe to upgrade some manufacturing. So it's a good fit for us. So maybe some sort of that kind of two-country collaboration could be a good fit to exchange experiences and to collaborate a bit more.
So if we have to not summarize, but kind of to highlight, I mean, obviously one of the things that has been said, that trust is important, knowing the culture is important, but also the tools, the financial instruments are important, and the open programs. So at the moment, which is the most, the program which is the most suitable, let's say, for the Baltic region? And this would be a question to all panelists at the moment. So it would be good to extract if, I mean, if there is a solution at the moment, what could be the most, like in a program, in the sense of a program, what could be that?
For Baltic region.
Yes.
I think Interreg now is
Interreg, Suzanne, you?
Well, we decided not to really participate in Interreg because it's not very well financed, sorry to say, policymakers. But we decided that your Horizon Europe,
Okay.
the bio-based circular economy, Baltic, the Innovation Express, but also the new initiative that's been mentioned today. We're very monitoring the whole programs coming up, and I think we are already working very well together. So it's just to keep an eye on what's coming of new programs that we can apply to, and of course it takes time, but we'll get there. Yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
I would agree, Interreg, but we as a cluster like Horizon Europe the best. I mean,
Horizon
we're good
Europe.
at it, we succeed at it, so I like this program the best.
Yes. And Slavomir, if we can hear your thoughts on that, what you consider to be the most suitable, okay, I don't know which word to use, program for the region?
Well, it's more a perspective of beneficiary that is important rather than policymaker. But I think it depends a little bit what you want to do. I think certainly Interreg is well a functioning program that is known to everybody. We hope that now we can really make more use of the mainstream programs, because this is where the real money, if you want, is. There is right now we just launched the call for proposals under Interreg Europe, which is open and where you can get the funding of up to 4 million euros, I think, for testing new approaches together across a number of regions. So this is very well suited for the sort of pilot phase of cooperation. And well, Horizon Europe is traditionally the instrument that is very well functioning, and where programs like InnoSup had a lot of attention and success among the clusters. So I think it also makes a lot of sense to use this one.
Yes. And if we can go back to Anders, so it has been mentioned a few times, the Innovation Express, but is it if you have to say what you consider and see as the most appropriate program for the region, would you stay with that? I mean, you heard the opinion of the other participants, so if you comment on that further.
Yes, I can. I mean, first of all, you can't compare Innovation Express with, for example, Interreg or the Regional Development Fund. It's a synchronized call. It's an instrument where we can help facilitate collaboration and synchronizing calls, offer capacity building, offer matchmaking. And as we heard today, it's a well-functioning model that is also spreading now to other parts of Europe. We hope to restart it in the Baltic Sea region, as I said, in the end of the year. But to answer your question, I also here agree with Slavomir. It depends on what are you working with, what thematics are you working with. But I think the beauty here and the success is to combine the financing. And I don't think we do it so often, but I mean, we are usually experts in, for example, Horizon, or we are expert in European Social Fund. But I mean, the combination is actually here we can get the real success. Because, for example, I think it was Gidrius that mentioned this with projects across borders between Lithuania and Latvia. But here you have the the Interreg cross-border program that can be very helpful to start something smaller that you can scale up with the mainstream program. You have also mentioned the Swedish Institute, and there are also the Council of the Baltic Sea States. There are this kind of seed money. And also, I think you can talk to your managing authorities about these kind of things, because I know that the Swedish managing authorities for the European Social Fund, they have also decided to have smaller projects now, up to 40,000 euro, to kickstart this kind of transnational collaboration. So once again, I think you should go to your own fund, to your own program, and knock on the door and say, hey, we would like help to get started. And I think there is a lot of possibilities also in the new programs to get this support, smaller projects also. Thank you.
Thank you. A lot of things can be mentioned. I mean, what is needed. I mean, especially that we mentioned the trust and knowing the culture, which was said, and it's very important. Not only working and collaborating with entities in Europe, but considering even going beyond Europe. But what do you think clusters and public entities in the region can do in order to prepare better for territorial cooperation? What could be, I mean, kind of the efforts in which direction could go for better territorial cooperation?
Marketing. I mean, to sell themselves. And you open the door, you show the nice picture of you and your work, your experience and whatsoever, and I think the door will be wide open. I don't know.
Yes.
I think you should participate in conferences like this, workshops. There's a number of activities coming up on the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. Go out there, meet people online, on site. I think this is, as I said in my presentation, we are in the business of people, relation building. So in order to have a better program or better project or better collaboration, you need to go out there, as you said, open the doors, participate, organize things, and also remember stakeholders. I think in all countries you have the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Trade or Council, Enterprise Europe Network. They can help you also to implement the international activities such as matchmaking or company missions or cluster missions. So since the secretariat are very small, then you need some help, and go out, reach out to them and ask for help. They have the same, not KPIs, but they have similar. So I think it will be, stronger together. We will be working together better, yes.
Yes, and you said that it is important to participate in conferences, in matchmaking events. It is also very important to be prepared going at the conferences, in these events, because you have to know clearly whether you're searching for new partnerships, you want to market your organization, or to open the door, for new partnerships. I'm also using this opportunity to ask all the online participants, those delegates that are with us from the very morning, to use the chat function, and if they have questions or if they want to share some good examples, please do so, and we will be trying to answer straight away or during the course of the remaining hours of the conference. So please be active and stay with us. We are really interested to hear your voice as well. And I see that we are having a question. My colleagues will help with the question. Thank you very much.
Yes. In fact, it's just great input from Alexander Berlin, who is just saying that it's the excellent approach, the keep barriers low for new actors to connect him. And he says that ideally they coordinate also better between all innovation actors like clusters, the accelerators, test and experimentation facilities. And he thinks that the first step here is to make all actors and their services and facilities easier discoverable across Europe. And he's saying that they are working on this with their agri-food ecosystem navigator mapping, the ecosystem actors of 20 DAUH, and give them all driving different insights on automatically curated data. So it's just an input from the chat that I think will improve the debate. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Alberto, and we really encourage the online delegates to be with us and to share their stories. Also, earlier today was mentioned that there is an open marketplace. The supply chain resilience platform is open for matchmaking through the course of the year. So it is another way to be active and search for partners and share basically what are you after, what are you on. So basically to see to create opportunities, not even see, but create opportunities, because this is the things. Okay, so maybe for the remaining time, if you want to summarize with, so I'll go to our virtual stage and basically with a couple of words. So Slavomir, to you, to summarize, like what would be what is
Well, summarizing is always difficult, but maybe just 2 or 3 points that I would like to make. First of all, I think it's also, we should not forget when talking about more cooperation inside Europe, about still the idea of being a part of a global value chain. I think those things go together and are not contradictory or excluding each other. And even there is a logic in saying the stronger your cluster, the more cross-sectoral, the more competencies, the more it can offer, the most interesting it is on the global scene, and there will be more interest from other global actors to join and to engage in economic exchange. So we should not see those two elements as something excluding each other, especially in small economies such as Lithuanian one, where we know that the more diversified it is, the better. Secondly, I think, and also something mentioned by Anders, is that we should not forget that the current challenges are cross-sectoral and they play on many chessboards at the same time. So again, the cluster that has more competences, that runs through a larger number of areas, has a more chance to use it as a business opportunity. If I take one of the leading themes in the mainstream programs, which is energy efficiency and renovation wave, it is a typical example for such an approach or for looking for new business opportunities, because the renovation wave is not only about building houses that use less energy. It's also about new technologies, it's about digital twins, it's about social affordability. So this calls for clusters which can pool those competencies together and offer solutions which are multidimensional. And the last point I would like to make is that we should also seek for bottom-up approaches. We should not forget that we are living at the age of very divisive politics. We are living at the age when the very funding base of our democracy is being questioned. So in the end, economic policy and growth and jobs, it's not only about this, it's also about democracy. So the more we can involve citizens in the policy making, the more we can respond to the needs, to the approaches based on social innovation, the better. And I think it is also important. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. And Anders, to summarize, what you think are the benefits of territorial cooperation?
Well, today we have learned that we need each other more than ever before, that we need to collaborate to really address our challenges and to give the answers that we need. And starting from that, I think what is important for innovation cluster is certainly to have an internationalization strategy. to develop such a one, to basically answer the question, how can my cluster be strengthened by collaboration? So I think that is the first thing. The second thing is certainly to start to ask for funding for collaboration. And I'm not thinking just about the EU funds. I'm thinking about funds that we have in other ways on the national level, even regional levels, that can be definitely used for collaboration with other countries. So start to demand funding for collaboration. And the third thing is to make best use of your macro-region strategy in the Baltic Sea region. We are here also to help and support, and there are very many possibilities to engage. If you speak about food clusters, we have a lot of work with the policy area bioeconomy, working also together with policy area tourism on sustainable food production, sustainable food consumption also side. We are working in my area with educational technology. I mean, as a result of the pandemic, but also now in the war in Ukraine, people are going online for learning, for teaching, and here is a lot of technologies. So I'm just giving you two examples where the Baltic Sea strategy can also be a help to you. So this would be the third and last summarizing part from my side. So thank you once again also for
Thank you once again.
Invited today.
Thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you. And a few words from you. So, Gedrius, if you'd like to start.
As our ministry said, we expect from us internationalization. We now 60% of our clusters work with international partners, but ministry expect 80%. It's a huge number, but it's our choice. As we're a small country, we need to be active abroad and to work more and more with our partners, but to stay in Lithuania too. Yes. We will stay here, but we work more and more with foreign partners.
And Suzanne?
Yes, our national clusters have to have an international strategy, so it's embedded in the overall strategy. And I think we're already doing that. We just need to do more. The situation that we are in has just accelerated everything, so people are more entitled and also more encouraged to work international, also the members. And there was a survey in Denmark to show that companies which are in a cluster are 14% more internationally minded than if they're not in a cluster. So that will benefit the economy, the regional, the national, and so on. And so I just think we should keep up the good work, take advantage of the situation, see the possibilities instead of seeing always the challenges. So far, we have seen we can stand up to the challenges. So keep up the good work, everybody.
Yes, thank you. And Skimante, to you.
Yeah, so a few words. Renewables are already a smart specialization here in Lithuania, a Green Deal ongoing. So it's a huge opportunity. And we work towards that to open not only European Union's countries' doors, but the doors abroad. And I call for any type of cooperation to join the forces and to open more doors together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I would like to thank for the panelists being with us today, as well as on the virtual stage. Thank you very much. What we kind of heard is the importance of having international strategy, working towards building sustainable cooperations, spending time to understand potential partners, because this is very important, because these partnerships, I mean, it's not just for a day or two. We are working towards of having not one partner, as you all said, not only for one project, but basically to continue further and building, using these partners for other projects and expanding opportunities. Trust is important, talking to the government structures. So Let's use the opportunities. Let's try to make the best out of the event, share experience, knowledge. So I would like to thank you for the opportunity for sharing this panel with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.